And the one thing we did right was the day we started to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Thank you. That's one of the freedom anthems some will remember from the civil rights movement. And I have to thank American Promise for this humbling, incredibly humbling honor, and of course represent us for supporting me day in and day out, and they deserve a great deal of credit for doing so because there are few organizations with similar resources who center disproportionately impacted leaders of color in this work. So I want to thank them for supporting me to do this work. And I want to thank my family. They have occupied 2 tables here. I am nothing without my village, so and I was born and raised right here in the DMV, so they just had to be here, and I want to thank them for showing up. My grandmother, my grandfather, my mom, my dad, my Aunt Maggie, my Uncle Bill, my Aunt Nene, and my cousin Chanel, and Lorenzo, and Raven, who's in college now, and my Aunt Darlene, and Aunt Doll. My brother is somewhere. He had to work. There he is in the back. There's my brother, my only brother. It means the world to me that they are here. And my fiance, unfortunately, she's a broadcast meteorologist in Huntsville, Alabama, so she had to give the weather today, so she couldn't be here. But she celebrates me, and we support each other and celebrate each other every day. But I wanted to read this quote from Dr. King, which gets at the essence of why I was compelled to walk, having witnessed at that point 2 presidential debates that hadn't mentioned once the fact that 2016 was the first presidential election without the full protection of the Voting Rights Act, or the millions, unprecedented millions, purged from the voter rolls in its wake. Dr. King said, "We will have to repent in this generation, not merely for the vitriolic words and actions of the bad people." I'll leave that there because there's a lot of that going on right now. But also for the appalling silence of the good people. Again, in the wake of the Supreme Court's disastrous Shelby versus Holder decision, which gutted the 1965 Voting Rights Act, the landmark achievement of the civil rights movement, and made 2016 the first presidential election without the full protection of the Voting Rights Act, ours is the first generation to witness America become less democratic. Polling places are closing en masse nationwide. Voters are being illegitimately purged from the rolls by the millions. Again, this still hasn't been mentioned once. Now 4 presidential debates have passed. Partisan gerrymandering continues unencumbered. A corrupt campaign finance system has our elected officials beholden to the wealthiest few at the expense of the many. The Federal Election Commission is now all but defunct. And foreign powers are attacking what's left of our elections. This is why I walked over 700 miles from Atlanta to DC to declare a state of emergency over our broken and corrupt democracy. There were many folks who, once I realized something had to be done, after seeing that second debate, who, for one reason or another, didn't want to respond to this call, did not want to mobilize. But I was so encouraged that by the time I got to DC, there's this new generation of millennials and Gen Z, as you've seen throughout this conference, thousands who were organizing this global climate strike, the largest climate strike in world history, and invited me to close out that climate strike in DC. They get it. We get it. We see that whatever the issue is, whether it's the new normal of more mass shootings than there are days in a year, or less than 11 years before it's game over on global warming, they see that it is caught in the death grip of corruption. And they invited me to share some words as I ended in DC. That was the highlight to me. Thousands of them understanding that. And I want to end here with this quote, and I should also mention, of course, the 12 presidential candidates now who have pledged to fix democracy first. That's a big deal. But I want to end here with this quote from Representative Elijah Cummings, who passed this previous week. He said, when we're dancing with the angels, the question will be asked, in 2019, what did we do to make sure we kept our democracy intact? Did we stand on the sidelines and say nothing? Did we play games? So I just took 1.5 million steps. Incidentally, the same number of voters purged from the rolls in Georgia alone between the 2012 and 2016 elections. By the way, the next presidential debate will be in Atlanta, Georgia. I'll be there too. But we've got a few more steps to take to end political corruption before it ends us, and finally have public policy that reflects the public interest. That is, government of, by, and for the people. Thank you.